Welcome back to the Moisture Farm, everybody. We have just wrapped up a very busy pre-release, I hope, for all of you. It definitely was for me. I ended up playing in 3 pre-release events. It was almost 4, but I had to back out of one. Just it's a lot of games doing multiple pre-releases. Lots of time at the card store. So, but I did get in 3, a good 3. So what I've got for you today are some clips of each of my pre-release events. I'll talk about the kits a little bit and the decks that I ended up making out of them, and then show you some clips here and there. And then at the end, I'll kind of summarize what I've noticed about the game after this weekend. Some changes that I'm noticing. I think a lot of us are noticing. Big changes are coming to the way we play this game. So we'll talk more about that at the end. So let's dive right into some clips. So my pre-release weekend started real quick. Right before we get started on first pre-release, me and Derek go ahead and crack our first booster box of Jump to Lightspeed. I'll kind of skip through this and I'll show you some of the good pulls I got. But boy, is it fun ripping packs. It's fun to be in this season again of a new set. Got a lot of stuff to open up. So first pack of Jump to Lightspeed. Pretty stoked here at the first pack. Good vibes. Y'all know I'm a big Vader guy, so pulling the Vader Legendary in my first pack, I was pretty stoked. Felt like it was a good omen. Had to flash the camera. I was feeling very hype after the first pack. And then second pack, keep the vibes going. Not a crazy rare, I think, but then Hyperfoil Mando. All pretty looking. I've been very excited to get my hands on Mando and play test that, build that into Han Yellow, see how well that performs. I have high expectations of that card in that deck, but we'll see when we test it. So jumping ahead all the way to the end of the box, just for time's sake, I did get some pretty cool pulls. I think a lot of us have been pleasantly surprised. They announced the increase legendary rates. So a lot of us have been pleasantly surprised with how our pack pulls and box pulls have turned out. Got some really cool stuff there. See a nice fancy Hyperfoil TIE Bomber. We'll talk about that card a little bit more in a few minutes. Boba Pilot, the new Y-Wing, lots of big ships. Got a Masterpiece, Black One, all the goodies. And we got Derek over here. He's got a nice Annihilator and that nice double when defeated ship and a Radiant hiding underneath that Hondo. So box pulls have never felt better. I also opened up a Carbonite box on stream. If you haven't seen that, it's up on the homepage of the channel. Go check it out. I've got another one on the way, so I'll be streaming that one as well. Maybe even with a friend. So keep your eyes out for that one. Here's a clip of us all getting ready for the pre-release at Fire and Ice. We had, I think, 36 people show up for our first pre-release. Definitely our biggest event, at least at Fire and Ice for Star Wars. It was awesome. So jumping straight into games for this pre-release, and ended up building a Von Reg Yellow. I didn't really have a lot of specific pieces that make Von Reg work, like his Interceptor, or like a lot of the tempo plays. I did have like some decent like bulk in yellow. A lot of us that have played pre-release have I'm sure had those kits before where you don't really get pulled in a direction very strongly. You kind of just end up getting, I don't know, I guess you would call it I don't know if the law of averages applies here, but you just get an overall very balanced kit that doesn't pull you in one direction. And so you just kind of have to do the best. And I think Von Reg is kind of like the leader that embodies that, right? I've mentioned it before when I was predicting the tier list for Von Reg. I think he's a very safe leader. He has a very safe ability where it's decent, but not going to give a huge edge, I think. And at least in my playtesting with Von Reg for this pre-release, I did not do very well. Ended up going like 0-2 very badly with Von Reg. did not go very well. And yeah, skipping ahead, a lot of times what would happen is I would get to, I mean, this particular game, Mike and I are kind of head to head here as far as base damage. But there were a lot of games where I'd be able to push like 24, 25 damage, and then I would just fizzle out. There's lots of removal, lots of board control cards, and then indirect damage feeds into that. So yeah, Von Reg for me, if I had had more like specific support, I think I might have done better. But I very much struggled in my first pre-release. Just did not have a lot of great stuff to build around him. I struggled with Von Reg so much so, in fact, that in my third round after going 0-2, I completely switched out the deck and switched to a Thrawn Green, which I did win my third round 2-0, and I got to do some cool stuff like playing that it's a one-cost event where you defeat something and give another unit experience. So kind of combo that into Thrall, where I would use that, defeat a landing shuttle, buff something. In this case, it's the Grit Pilot, and then use Thrawn's ability. So I'm like drawing 2 cards. So I was able to pull that off a couple times, and those, that felt good. And in a pre-release setting, that's a pretty strong play. Drawing 2 cards, giving something 2 XP. So yeah, Von Reg definitely was not it for me. Thrawn felt a little bit better to close it out. So as you can see, this looks a little different than how I usually shoot my videos. This is a different store. This is my second pre-release at Game Kastle Sacramento. Shout out to them for being cool about the channel and being supportive. I only recorded a couple matchups in this pre-release. I had some opponents that didn't want the game on camera, which is totally cool. So this is my first round against a Vader. He gets the swarming of Ultra Droid on there. And then I've got a Clone Pilot turn 1. So he's got an opportunity to activate his leader turn 2, where I unfortunately do not. And he does have initiative, so he's got a little bit better odds in this matchup. I still feel pretty favorable here. Go ahead and play a pilot first. I'm going to kind of punish him here for not getting that attack in, and I'll splash in the electromagnetic pulse to deal 2 to that. And it's a good stat. The wingman 4-3 for 3, good stats for limited. He's definitely. It definitely felt better for him to play that on the ground than it did to pilot a 2-2 in that situation. He's going to bring in the shuttle. It's going to come in with a shield on it, which is a nice play for him. I've got a couple options here. I think of what I'm trying to do. I definitely want to try and get Luke going. I'll play the leader with a discount because I have the Clone Pilot in play. He's going to take out my Clone Pilot, which is cool. And then paying 1 for the Tactical Officer, which is a nice trade for me. Letting him swing in there so that I don't play that Tactical Officer and I can start pushing damage with fighters. He does have first action if he wants to get rid of that thing, but keeping that 4-3 away from my base to take out a 0-4, I feel pretty cool with. He's definitely got some options here of what he wants to do. He can take out the ground unit without sacrificing his guy. He's going to put Dengar on the shuttle. That's a pretty good. Dengar's a pretty good pilot. Maybe one of the top pilots, I think, stat-wise. Gets a nice boost and then gets to do indirects. I'll go ahead and push in the damage here. pushing in for 5, I think. And the good thing about my units on board is that when he does do some indirect, they both have 4 health. So I've got some, I've got some breathing room to spread indirect damage. And it's, definitely with that guy's 0-4, so definitely cool about that. And I'm going to punish him for not getting in an attack with the Victor 3, and I'll ping it with Luke because I got in that attack. And then he'll play I think that's the Mist Hunter. No, it's a tough angle. I can't see really that well. I apologize for that. I'd use my smaller tripod because it's a much smaller room. And so my big-ass tripod was probably not going to be very appreciated in the room. He makes his tokens, so he's got a nice space presence going on here. I believe that's the Restore 2 fighter. 3-4, 3-5 Restore 2. Go ahead and get in some more damage there. Give that thing a swing. He's got a cool little digital damage tracker. Also came from Brandon, who does those metal tokens. He'll get in a big swing here. I've got to spread some indirect around. Put one on that thing and one on one of these guys. I've got nice HP units on the board right now, so indirect is not super punishing. I've also got a Luke ability. I've got Luke flipping onto the blue leader now. Take advantage of him not having Vader out there. I'll flip Luke before there's anything big to fight it. And I'm definitely got my eyes on that 4-3 over there that hasn't swung in yet. And he'll go ahead and take that into base to try and match us up. But I will be able to go into base and take that thing out with Luke's ability. And yeah, when Luke flips, stuff gets out of hand, man. It gets out of hand. It's a big stat, and it almost feels like a bit better set 1 Vader, with stats, and obviously it's under the condition that it has to be piloting a vehicle, but yeah, it does not. It is pretty good. Does not feel worse than last set Vader for sure. He decides to flip his Vader on the ground, and he's got the grit tank as well out there, so he's definitely got a stronger board situation than I do. But yeah, my space arena with Luke is just nasty. And now we are on the 7 resource turn, which I've got this ready for him. I'm going to untap everything. And yeah, y'all know what's coming. I talked about it. Told you what I pulled in my kit. We're going all 7 for the turbo laser. So Luke's doing 7 damage to everything in his ground unit, or his ground board. And yeah, we're both making sure we're reading the card right. But yeah, Luke's coming in, just wipes that strong ground board, and that pretty much does it for him. I mean, I've got answers all over the place, and yeah, he doesn't really come back from that. It's pretty much game over. So yeah, the power combo of Luke, flipping Luke and then curving into the turbo laser, definitely feels good. Felt really strong, and that combo won me a lot of games it was a pretty good pre-release overall for me. All right, so jumping ahead a little bit, this store actually did something a little bit different where they did 4 rounds of Swiss and then they did a top 8 cut, which is interesting for pre-release. But first place was, prize for first place was a whole box of Lightspeed. So with prizes that high, not, feel free to, do top 8 cut, do whatever. So jumping ahead in the middle of this game, in a nice spot, I've got a Sabine's Masterpiece. I've got the 4/4 Saboteur in space. Very good unit to have with Luke around. And then with Sabine, I was able to ping away that Stormtrooper on attack, controlling a red unit. So in a good spot right now. He's got a 5/3 Sentinel over there on the ground. I know it's tough to see with the camera angle. But this is definitely a really good spot to be in for a Luke. For a Luke deck, having both of these fighters in space, big deal. He's going to tap out for the Grit tank and buff the Sentinel. So the Sentinel is going to swing in for 6 now. Really nice tempo play for him. And then for me, trying to figure out how to sequence things, I know I definitely want to flip Luke onto this Saboteur. But first things first, I'm going to ambush in with Blue Leader, paying 5, moving him to the ground, and ambushing in to prevent that 6 swing. Tapping out for that is totally fine with that because it shuts down his tempo big time. Now I get to, with Sabine, I can get that in for 4 on base, and then so that's an 8 damage swing right there, and he's got his Von Reg onto the Grit tank, which is scary, but I've definitely pulled away a little bit with base damage and given myself some space to work with by getting that Blue Leader ambush in. And now I'm in prime position to flip Luke onto the Saboteur and just start causing absolute wreckage. This isn't a deck where he's playing a lot of Sentinels anyways. He does have access to some Sentinels. He's going to swing in pretty big here with a Punch It. I think that goes in for 7. Puts me to 15. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and flip Luke. And, not super worried about flipping Luke early like that. He gets to ready that TIE Fighter. But I also get to just shoot that thing down as soon as I swing in for Luke. I definitely don't want to put any damage on the tank, so that's just kind of a free target for me there. I want to shoot it down anyways, just in case he wants to play something else into it. Shoot down is just such a good card. I want to talk about that more in a little bit, but great card that we have access to. So now I get to swing in for 12 damage on base with Luke on the 4/4 and Sabine going in for 4, having control of a red unit. And nothing he can do to come back from that. So I ended up losing that Game Kastle pre-release in the top 4 game. I lost to a Rio Blue, which was very interesting. He did pull a lot of transports. He pulled a Radiant, and flipping Rio onto something like that, pretty big, pretty tough to deal with. And so I came in 4th. Got like $40 in store credit, which was pretty cool. So now we're jumping ahead to Fire and Ice Part 2. This one at their new location that they just opened up. So very exciting. It was my first time in the new store. And this was a great pre-release. As you can see here, I'm rocking Lando Green. I had a really interesting kit with this one. I pulled like 3 rare leaders where I had Lando, Phasma, and Haldo. Which, yeah, it was a weird kit, but as I was cracking packs, I got some really good cards for this shell. So I was pretty excited for it. We'll see how it performs here. Dropping in a Page turn 1. He's got a 2-1 Sentinel. I'm actually going to speed this clip up a little bit for time's sake. Give it a little 20% boost. Got a Wedge red across from me. Shout out to my man Riley. Wedge has been seeing a lot of play. I saw a lot of Wedge getting played all weekend. I'll talk about Wedge a little bit more. He's going to put down the 3-drop. It's going to give him a token as well. It's like this set's Batch Brothers pretty much. And then I'm going to throw down Yularen, the 1/5, and when played, I get to choose one of those keywords. I think it's Grit, Restore, Shielded, or I can't remember the other one. I think I chose Restore. Sentinel, if I didn't say Sentinel. So every unit will gain that keyword. And with Land, I could have chose Shielded since I haven't played any yet, but with Lando, as you'll see, I'll be able to throw out some shields. So I'm not super worried about shields as much. You can see I've got a Poe in my hand right here. I just pulled like some really good blue hero and green hero cards, and felt like giving Lando a shot. So I play Poe, move him over to, got a tie token, metal tie token. Shout out to Brandon. Those like in my local area know Brandon is a beast with his metal tokens. Sells them online. And yeah, they're all awesome. He hooked up that one at our PQ actually in San Francisco. He was there and hooked me up with a token. Appreciate it. So Riley's got a decision to make here about where he wants to swing that X-Wing. If he wants to put some work into Poe, he'll first play this pilot at a discount. He's trying to figure out which one he wants. If he wants to preserve the Sentinel, if he wants to buff that Sentinel or preserve the 2/2. He'll trade that pilot into Poe, get rid of that immediately. Keeps the Sentinel up and gets to swing it in for 2. And plays the other Batch Brothers Part 2. So definitely getting to go wide, giving himself options on where he puts down his cheaper pilots. This is not the best curve I had with Lando all night. There was some cool plays with Lando where, definitely take that guy out for 1 while I can. There's some cool plays with Lando where it's kind of similar to Rey or Luke, where you're kind of playing under curve to, buff units. Obviously the conditions are a little bit different this time with Lando because you have to control units in both arenas to disperse that shield token. But it's a fun take on that kind of strategy or that philosophy of leader, I guess I should say. And I've got a couple different options here. Obviously his space arena, it's wide. It's not, very punishing, but I know he can get cheaper pilots out there. So that is scary having a lot of options for that. So with Lando, play that X-Wing and pay an extra 1. I've got ground and space, so I get to throw a shield on that. And there's some cool stuff that comes out of that. He's already flipping Wedge and is getting in some damage there. So now he's got Wedge protected by his Sentinel, and he's got another unit ready for a pilot in space. Definitely a good position for him here. Lando, as you all know, is a 7 deploy, so I have to stabilize for Lando flip. It's a Sentinel in either arena when I flip him. On a pilot, he gets to give a shield token to something in the ground. If I do that, you can see I've got the gold leader in my hand. That is exciting for me. That is my stabilization goal. If I can play the gold leader, and then if I'm able to flip Lando onto the gold leader, then I have, that's my best odds of stabilizing here. Gold leader is that shielded 5/5, and when it is attacked, the defender gets -1. So putting those on a big 10, 12 or whatever 10, 10 Sentinel is nice. Now he plays the 6/5 Saboteur that defeats an upgrade on attack. So I definitely have to deal with that first if I want to flip Lando. Deploying Lando onto that with that thing still in play is ill-advised to say the least. Luckily, I'm playing blue. I can give it out of airlock, give it a -5/-5, and get rid of it. So definitely safe for that. Lando flip. Riley's trying to figure out if he wants to get in that damage before the Sentinel goes up. Messing with his resources here. What does he want to do? He'll go ahead and get that damage in. He's definitely getting close. I'm 12 away from death here. But now I've got my big stabilizer. He'll drop in the War Juggernaut, which is a very big card we've all noticed this weekend that has very good implications. Now, the nice thing about a big Sentinel, too, is you get to attack in big. So now I get a chance after stabilizing, swinging in with Gold Leader. That is a 10-10. So swinging in for 10 damage definitely helps in that regard, where not only am I stabilizing, but I can start climbing back into the race. Play the X-Wing just to be efficient with my resources here. And now I've got a chance. I've got a chance to bring him to 25. His War Juggernaut only has +1 right now with the damage situation on board. I may have forgotten to restore with Gold Leader, forgetting that Yularen was in play, but I don't think it would have mattered. And if I did, maybe I didn't. I just was too busy flapping my gums, not paying attention. Gold Leader, Lando on Gold Leader, when I was opening my kit, I was like, I just want to get this combo off once. He gets to exhaust the Gold Leader, which is gnarly. Potentially a game-saving play. Not potentially, it is a game-saving play for Riley. You can see I've also got the Chewbacca in my hand, which is an interesting pre-release kit pull. I make a mistake here of putting Chewbacca on the X-Wing. I think I might have been better off putting him in the ground. Having that body on the ground that he has to damage to get rid of, I think would have been a little bit better than. I think I got greedy with the damage here, putting Chewie on that, and then trying to push in that 1 extra damage may have been a bit of a greedy play for me. Riley's got a decision to make here if he wants to crash in the X-Wing and just start chipping away at Gold Leader, defeat his leader in the process. He's spread damage out a little bit more with that exhaust ability, so now his Juggernaut gets a little bit more of a buff. If he spreads some damage on X-Wing somehow, it'll get even bigger. So he's definitely trying to be as efficient as he can and maximize that. And here he goes here. Putting the 2-3 or 2-2 Sentinel pilot. So now the War Juggernaut does get bigger. Now it goes to a 7 power with the current board state. I have no way of dealing with the Juggernaut. I just have to try and win the race despite the Juggernaut at this point, which I feel like I can still do here. Okay, I do remember to restore that time, and he goes in for 6. So, if I'm able to claim initiative here, I should have it. He gets me to 23 with Juggernaut, and yep, I just claim, and that was it for him. So Gold Leader with Lando is nasty. Riley did end up getting me 2-1. I think I got gold leader on uh, with Lando on a third time in like game 3, but he was able to dodge it with the War Juggernaut. Did similar things where he buffed it, was able to spread damage, and got me to lethal. So Lando was so close. I went 1 and 2 with Lando. It was so close from being like a really good pre-release kit. I think I just was missing some bulk cards to help support the early game. But yeah, let's talk about more about how the game has changed a little bit with this pre-release and with this new set. All right, so after wrapping that up, let's talk about how I think this game has changed and some things I've noticed over the pre-release weekend. Leading leaders. This is who I say I saw get play the most. Now, I'm not, don't look at this and be like, oh, this isn't going to be the meta. This isn't it. This is just what I noticed getting played far more than most leaders. Boba Fett is a given. Everyone had access to Boba Fett. There's a lot of good support cards for him. I mean, anytime you do all the indirect cards, anytime you can do, red card damage, it triggers him. It's a mini OB when he flips. And also, we're not really going to have a lot of opportunities to play Boba Fett in limited after this weekend. The only time you'll have, consistent access to him is pre-release. So for a lot of reasons, Boba is getting played. He's just very strong. Indirect damage is a nuisance. That's going to be a big factor, I think, in this upcoming meta. Luke, you saw my success with Luke. I did pretty well. In limited, he's a hard counter to a particular leader who's a decent leader that people want to play, but he's an absolute hard counter into it. So, if anyone's playing Vader and you get matched up with him, you're already highly favorable. There's one downside to Luke that I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. Wedge, you saw my matchup against Riley. Wedge is getting a lot of play. People are playing him very fast. So they're getting pilots out cheaper. They're going wide and just trying to shove damage. Even trying to win the game sometimes on the Wedge flip if they curve out perfectly. So Wedge, I think there was a lot of anticipation for Wedge, and in pre-release, it's tough for me in limited because you have to get the cards, right? You have to get pilots to really maximize on this, or at least just like a good bulk of green-white, which I think is really strong for this limited set. So if you don't get that, you're kind of digging yourself a hole. But I still, regardless, people were making him work. And then Rose, I saw a lot of people playing Rose, which surprised me. I thought that Rose was going to get overlooked quite a bit in limited. Healing 2 damage from a vehicle unit. When she's horizontal, that unit has to have attacked in order to do that healing. I saw a lot of it. I played against a Rose at Game Kastle that took one game for me as Luke, but I was able to take the other 2. 2 damage I think is a lot more significant than, it's obviously much more significant than 1 damage, right? And I think in a limited card pool, specifically this set, I think she has opportunities to be good. I saw most people playing her in red, so where you're just controlling board state with damaging your opponent and trading in to their stuff, and then being able to heal it up. It works. It's worked for some people. I saw a lot of it. Was it the strongest? Definitely out of these 4, no. But I saw a lot of it going around, which surprised me. Quality commons. There are some really good commons. There's some good bulk in this set. And there should be, right? This is the set that we're carrying into the first set that we're carrying into the first rotation when it comes. We're going to have this set available to us in the Premier format for a long time. So I would hope that the bulk is good and is workable. Um, the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, just the 3-2 in space, nothing super fancy, but it's an ideal turn one play for any hero green deck, especially Wedge. That's the best way they can push across damage. There's also the new Y-Wing that does indirect damage. That's great for pilots as well. So there's and then kind of on the villainy side is TIE Bomber. This obviously saw a lot of play. It's really, I mean, it's good. You're dealing. It's got 4 health, so in limited, it's surviving for a while. And as we move into constructed, 4 does fall into the range of like Ping Tarkentown, but either way, it's got a good ability, and it can get piloted, and that health can get bigger. You can get to 6-7 health, and then a couple attack points to push across some more damage. It was a good start. It's a good start for villainy. Shoot down is very, very high on this card. It's control and tempo all in the same card. Defeating a unit, dealing 3, defeating a unit, and then getting to do 2 to base. It's the best of both worlds. Any red deck, if you're playing red in draft, or if you're doing more sealed or pre-release, hunt this card out. I would play as many of these as you can, I think. I mean, and in limited you can go over 3. I mean, I don't know. You might even want to play 4 of these. I don't know if you got them. The Guerrilla Soldier is a nasty common card. When played, I know my fat head is in the way. Deal 3 indirect damage to a player if a base is damaged this way. Ready this unit. On turn 2, there's a very high likelihood that they have to put this on base. Especially if you have initiative, you play this card. In all likelihood, they have, unless they've played a TIE Bomber or something with something else that can survive that. The likelihood that you're getting at least 1 indirect damage in the base is very high, and so turn 2 you're getting a unit that's essentially doing 3 damage. Either you're either trading this into something or getting in 3 total damage on base. Very solid turn 2. Was very good in pre-release as well. Overall, here are just some keystone thoughts that I have taken away from pre-release weekend. Indirect is really strong. I was feeling pretty high on indirect going into this. My prediction, I felt like indirect was going to be really good, and yeah, it's good. It's very good, and it's cards like Planetary Bombardment, and even the 3-drop yellow one that does 5 indirect. When you're able to push that damage, and your opponent gets to choose where it goes, it's still there. And if you're pushing it every single action, it's gonna add up. They're gonna have to start making very tough decisions about potentially even sacrificing units, and to leverage you getting potentially high damage into their base. It's brutal. Piloting pays off. I think one of the things that we were all worried about with pilots is that upgrade removal is cheap and could be very punishing. And I think, at least in limited, what we found is that while there are options, they gave us like what is it? The system. There's a 1 cost in red that defeats something and then pings it for 1, defeats an upgrade. They gave us options, and obviously once we move into constructed, we still have access to confiscate and some other upgrade removal options. I think piloting, I think the payoff is still there. I didn't see too many times where people were getting deeply punished for piloting. It greatly helps that most pilots that are leaders, like your Lukes and Von Reg and all those guys, when they are flipped as pilots, Their leader units, and a lot of upgrade removal is non-leader stuff. So that definitely helps. Obviously, like I said, once we transition into constructed, it'll be a little different. But overall, I think piloting is paying off. It's not, it's a risk, but the reward is, the ratio between risk and reward, I think, is a little bit more favorable than what I was expecting. Because of piloting, the game is playing faster. As I mentioned with Wedge, like, people are pushing damage like crazy. With Wedge, you can just throw all those pilots out there. You got that Batch Brothers thing that's making you an X-Wing token. There are a lot of avenues for damage to push really fast. That Von Reg deck in the first game that I didn't show clips of, I mean, just absolutely obliterated me. I don't even think I had a chance to flip Luke that game. One thing I have noticed that I'm a little bit concerned about is that initiative is becoming really impactful. We've kind of felt that a little bit with Anakin last set, especially in limited. Like, when Anakin has initiative, it's very important. His win potential is much more favorable if he has initiative. I felt that way a lot playing Luke, where, if I have an opportunity if I have first action and I have an opportunity to get my fighter in so I can trigger my ability, or if Luke is deployed, I have an action to get in that attack before there's any response. Especially in the Vader matchup. I mean, like, if you're Luke and you have initiative, it feels like 80-20 that you're going to win that game. Vader, if you have initiative, it feels more like 45. What's the math? 45-55. Yeah. It feels maybe not even that much, honestly, but it's felt, and I mean that more than one leader matchup. I think initiative, once we start piloting leaders and getting huge stats, Lando, if you have first action where you can flip and create a huge sentinel and completely shut down space, initiative, I think, is becoming a lot more impactful than it has previously. And something else I've noticed is, and initiative kind of builds into this, that board control is starting to snowball really fast, where, like, in the first 2 to 3 turns of the game, if your opponent has initiative, plays a turn 1 play, plays shoot down, or shuts down your turn 2 play, and then, like with Luke, is able to ping, or with Vader, he's able to get a token. There's a lot of snowballing going on, where if you are continuously keeping control of the board, within turns 2 through 4, you can run away with games, which was not really the case. I mean, it was sometimes, but I've really felt like snowballing is happening a lot more, where, someone is able to control the board on the second turn of the game, and then if they control the board for like one more consecutive phase, then it just starts really picking up. Board control has always been super important to this game, but I've definitely felt that in pre-release a lot. I don't know about you guys. That's my overall thoughts of pre-release, my experience, how I see the game going forward. Let me know what you guys think. If I'm talking crazy up here or not, let me know. Like I said, I've got another Carbonite coming soon. I'll be doing a stream of that. Should be drafting for the first time later this week, so we'll get our first Jump to Lightspeed draft video going. And as always, I'll see you next time. See you next time.